Hi, everybody, and welcome to another of our series of Appri.io webinars. Today we'll be talking about push, the push notifications feature that's part of the backend services for Appri.io.
Thank you, Charlie, and welcome, everyone. So what we're going to do today, we'll cover push, and I guess what's nice about push is that there's sort of very little to tell you what push is, right? I'm positive that all of you have received push notification messages on your devices. But so what we'll do here is we will show you how to actually send the messages and the various options that you have for sending messages and also sending targeted messages. So the agenda, again, is very simple. We'll just do the very basic way of sending a push message. And as I mentioned, we'll show you how to send targeted messages using channels. We will also show you how you can schedule a push notification message so you can send it like in the future, for example. And then we'll cover the API and server code script API for sending push messages. And then the last thing, and I can probably just mention it now, is that in about a week or two, we're actually coming up with an upgraded push notification plugin, right? So you can have a lot more options for sending messages, for adding actions, and so on. So again, that's something that's coming up in about a week, 2 weeks. All right. So let me go to the platform. All right. So this is the app. Actually, let me go right here. All right. So so the first thing is, of course, you have to build an app, right? And this is my app. That it's very simple. It just has one page, right? And has some UI, which again I'm going to come back to this UI in just a second. But once you have an app, right, you switch to push notifications, and this is where you enable push notifications for this particular app. So you just simply click this checkbox and you enable push notifications. Then you need to select a database. Now, why do you need to select a database? Is because in the database, that's where we keep the device registration. So what this means is that when the app launches, right, for the first time, for example, the app will register in that database collection, all right? And so that allows you then to send messages and also send targeted push messages to the device, all right? Let me show you how the database looks. Let me open this in a new tab. So this is my database, and again, the devices collection is built in, so you don't need to create it. As long as you create a new database, you will have it. All right? And this is my devices. So I have 2 devices registered, right? Now this is the device ID. This is the token. So these values are automatically generated and saved here. So you don't need to do anything. Now the type here, this indicates whether it's iOS or Android. So I is for iOS, A is for Android. And then channels, this is optional, right? we're gonna cover this. And you can also create custom columns, but I don't have any custom columns in this particular, in this devices collection, all right? So again, this is how we know, right, when we send a push message from the platform. So we're gonna use the information stored here to send messages to various devices. And again, you can send a message to all the users. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Or again, you can send targeted push messages using channels, but again, we'll do this a little bit later. All right, so let's go back. All right, so next you have to specify what kind of settings do you want. Do you want to play a sound? Do you want to show an alert and a badge? So this badge here, this is specific for iOS. That's the little, that's the number that appears in the upper right corner of the app icon. Right? And then you need to set up the stuff for Android and also iOS. Now, so for Android, it's pretty straightforward. You just need the sender ID and the API key. Now, how do you get this information? Well, you go to the Google Developers Console and you basically set up a project, right? And you're going to get a project ID and also an API key. So this is the API key that you have here. So it's actually, we're not going to do the steps. We actually have instructions how to do that. I mean, the process is pretty simple as long as you sort of follow it step by step. Again, so you need the project ID and the API key. and sorry, wrong tab. Here we go. So this is the project ID, the sender ID, and the API key. Right, that's the information that you need. Right, for iOS, it's it's also simple, but it just you have to do a lot more steps. Right, you have to first install the app on your device, and then also generate a push certificate. So again, it's also sort of if you follow the steps, it's sort of simple, but again, just a lot more steps you have to follow for iOS. But again, just to show you, I have an app deployed, installed on my, I'm going to show you my iPad mini. And right here, I have a push certificate that I created. Okay. So again, the actual steps for creating is just outside the scope of this webinar. We just don't have time to go through all the steps. All right. But as for configuration, that's all you need, right? So you enable, you set the database, and then you just do the Android settings and iOS settings. So sort of very, very simple to set up. Once you set this up, you would like to send a push notification message. So you just switch here. And here you again have some options. So the simplest one is you send it to all devices, right? And that's what we're going to do. Then you select to which device type. So we have two devices, right? So we can send it to both of them or maybe just one of them. But let's send to both of them, right? You can also, this is for iOS only. You can customize the sound. And this is the batch, so maybe we can send, set it to 2. And then you set the message. All right. And now notice right here it shows two recipients, right? Because I have 2 devices. And so let's send this message. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly share the iPad screen. So just give me a sec here. Oh, I have to do it on the iPads. Here we go. I have to do AirPlay. All right. Close this so that you can see here. And actually, let me just click send. And you can see that I just got, and you can see the notification there, right? And you can see that there's 2 numbers, the one that I set. I also received one on my Android phone, right? But if I look at the notifications, you can see that this is the message that I just sent, all right? And we can clear this. All right. And again, exactly the same thing works on for Android. Now, once you send the message, you can also always go to scheduled in history, right? So this is where you see messages if you scheduled any messages, and also you see any messages that were sent. Let's refresh here, right? And you can see that it was sent and delivered to 2 devices, right? And then the message, if the message is a little bit long, then you can always just put the mouse over and you can see the entire message. And again, if you schedule any messages to be sent in the future, you can also, you will see the messages here as well, all right? Let's go back. Well, why don't we actually go ahead and schedule a message to be sent, right? So we'll set it maybe 5 or 10 minutes and we'll get the message. So all you have to do is click schedule a push, right? And then there are 2 options here. The option that we can use here is, so basically it's going to use the device time zone to send the message, all right? And let's change this to, should be, here you go, all right? And let's set it to, let's see, it's 11:12 Pacific time. Let's set it to 11:20, 11:18. All right. We'll set it 11 and then schedule. All right. So we schedule 2 messages. Actually, let's change, let's go to scheduled, and you can see right here, right, it's the message is scheduled, and then we just need to, let's modify the message. Right, we'll say this is a scheduled message. All right. So, so we should get this message in about 5 minutes. All right. So again, this is how you schedule. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is how to work with channels. All right. And let's go to the database. All right. So the channels are right here. So you can see that the iOS device has no channels, and then the Android device is subscribed to 3 channels. So this is how you actually send targeted push messages to a device, right? And to show you, I'm going to, again, go to my iPad, and I'm going to launch the app. Let me... All right, so this is the app, all right? And you can see basically that I have 3 options here: travel, food, and gardening. So the basic idea is that when you build an app and the user, they launch your app, right? You can have the user subscribe to some news or particular notifications that the user wants to receive, right? And so I'm using travel. So let's say, for example, I would like to get notifications about, let's say, travel and food, right? And so this can be in settings, of course, right? It doesn't need to be the first page. And then I'm going to click subscribe, right? If I look on if I look in the database, you can see right here, now it says 1 and 2. Now when I send a message, right, I know that 1 corresponds to travel, 2 corresponds to food, and 3 corresponds to gardening. So now I can say, you know what? This particular message only goes to this channel, right? So this is how you send targeted push messages. What you can also do is when you install the app for the first time, maybe the notifications are off by default, right? So you never use the option to send to all devices, right? For example, the user has to subscribe to a particular channel before you can send the message. Okay, and so I can modify this. I'm going to actually launch this up on my Android so you guys can see, and I'm going to just update. All right, so what I did is that, I launched the app for, and I don't want to get any notifications, right? So maybe this is the default. That's how you want it, right? And then when I go to send the message, what I do now, instead of all devices, I'm going to say use the query builder. And then you have a couple of options here, right, where you can send targeted messages. And you can use a device ID. This is sending to a specific device. In my case, I'm going to use channel, right? And then I'm going to set a value here, and let's see what I have. So for example, I want to send a message to all the users who are subscribed to channel 2. Right, and then I'm going to set 2. Right, let me check this. And you can see there's 1 recipient, right? Because now, for example, let's say from the Android, I'm going to subscribe to channel 2. Right, and if I look in my database, right now, I'm also subscribed to channel 2. So let's probably just need to update this here. Oh, actually I need to check. Oh, Android is checked. Let's see here. All right, so now it's 2, right? And if I check back to channel 1, then it's only 1 recipient, right? Because only the iOS device is subscribed to channel 1. And then the last thing, if I subscribe to channel 3, then should get 0 recipients because no device, no user is subscribed to channel to channel 3. Okay, but let's do what is it? 1, right? Actually, channel 2. Well, we can do 1 and 2, for example, right? And we can say this is a targeted push message. Actually, let's do, all right, and then click send. All right, and so I just got a message on my iOS device. Let me show you. Went to sleep here. Oh, it went away. Let's send the message again. Here we go. Let's do this. Here we go. All right. So you can see the message. The message is, it says targeted push notification message. All right. So this is, again, this is how you can send targeted push messages using channels. Now, one thing I've noticed here that my scheduled push message didn't go out, and I think this something has to do with the time zone, maybe because of the clocks. But let me just go back here. It was the default time zone was Mountain, so something is maybe because of the time change. Well, let me just do this, and I'm going to set it to 2:22, so it's about 2 minutes, and click save. Let's refresh. All right. All right. So hopefully we're going to get this, and then I'll figure out with the time zone. But if for some reason was the wrong time zone was selected automatically, so that's maybe why the message wasn't delivered right away. All right. So we covered how to send basic, just a very using the dashboard, basic push message. We hopefully will now test the scheduling again. We also saw how to do channels. All right, and this is all. So of course, the idea here is that you send the message. From this dashboard. Before we go into server code, let me show you this app, right? And how do you obviously you just check the check boxes. It's pretty straightforward. And then what you do is you invoke the API, the push API, to update the device registration, right? So this is a very simple API, okay? And this is how it updates the registration, right? So where you select which channel you want. Now this device ID, right? It is stored in local storage automatically. So the very first time you launch the app, right? The device ID will be stored on your phone in local storage. And so now, obviously, you have to pass it in the API call so that the push server knows, right, which device is updating its registration. And actually, I just got the push message. That's the scheduled one. Let me show you. And so I think there's something to do with time zones, so we'll check that. Let me see if I can show you. The message still here? Yeah. So you can see here, this is scheduled push, right? It was received 11:22 Pacific time. Okay, so that's how scheduling works. All right. Now, so this is how you update registration. Let me just quickly show you. So there is you have a lot of other APIs available that you can do. So for example, this is our Dev Center. So for example, you can send a push notification, right, via an API. You can remove scheduled push messages, right? So if you schedule the message, maybe you checked for something and you don't want to send the message anymore, so you just can sort of remove it. Again, this is how you register a device via an API. This you get device information. This is how you update the device. This is the one that I use, and this is how you unregister. Right, so this is completely, you remove the information from the devices collection. right? So this is all available. You can do this from an API. Now, because you have an API to send a push notification message, what you could do is, not only use the dashboard to send a message, but you can also build a separate app, right, that will send a push message to your users, for example. Maybe it's an admin app, right, that you install. Maybe, if you're the admin, and then based on some conditions, if something happens, you can send a push notification, and you don't even need to have access to the dashboard. You can do it directly from your phone using the API. All right. Now, the last thing that I want to show you is how we can tie this also with server code. So let me refresh here. And you can see, actually, so this is the scheduled push message here that was sent to devices. All right. Server code. So let's go to server code. All right. And I already created a script. And now, in addition to just REST API that I just showed you, again, so the REST API can be invoked from anywhere. There is also integration from the server code that you can send messages, you can, again, register, unregister devices, and so on. But to send a message, it's as simple as this, right? This is just basically one call. I've got the API key defined right here. Now, this API key is, let me show you. Is this API right here, right? So again, very straightforward and simple to get it. And what I'm saying here is, this is the message, and I'm saying hi there. So I'm just sending a message to everyone. And testing the script is very simple. We just click save and run, right? And I just got a message to both devices, the Android and iPad mini, all right? That's very simple. Another option is if you want to send targeted push messages. So this is the example right here. So let me uncomment this, right? And same setup. I mean, you have the API key. This is the message. And then right here, we specify the channels, right? So let's say we've got channel 1 and 2. You can save. And I think this is going to go to both devices, but why don't we just go with channel 1 maybe. Save and run. All right, so this actually went only to the iPad. And I think if we do channel 2, this one went to both. All right, so that's how the devices are registered. All right, so as you can see, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do here with the integration from server code. So one example that we like is if you have a database and you store, some information, some product information, for example. So you could have a script, right, that you run and in checks for inventory. Now, if the inventory is low, right, then you send a push notification message, right, to someone, hey, letting that person know, hey, this event happened, and you need to do something, okay? And in addition, right, the script, the actual server code script, can also be scheduled, right? So you can actually schedule a server code script run. So the scenario is this: you got a database, products, inventory, and then the script runs every, maybe every hour or maybe once a day, and then it checks, right? And then the inventory falls below some number, right? Then the logic in the script, the inventory is below, let's say, 100. Hey, now send a push notification message to someone, right? You can, of course, also, in addition to a push message, you can also send an email, for example. So that's also an option. But it's just nice how everything integrates together, right? Server code with the database and with push. And I think that's pretty much all we wanted to show you. The only other thing is definitely check out the Dev Center and the documentation for push. All right. So This is the push API. So you can see there's a lot of information you get here, examples, again, how to work with push. And then for server code has its own section on how to work with push. You can see push notification here. So this shows you how to interact with push via the server code API. Right? So again, you get two APIs. You just have the standard REST API, right? And then you also have a integrated server code script API, which is again something like this. That's the example that I just used. All right. So let's go back.
Let's turn to the questions then. Here's a good question. This person's pointing out that in their view that putting together successful push, a lot of that involves timing when the permission is asked of the user. He's saying that a good implementation pre-asks the user first from the app itself before the iOS permission box pops up. Is that something we can do with Apri right now? With the Apri push notification feature? Here, he's saying that he wants to know if you can do pre-ask the user first from the app itself before the iOS permission box pops up. Do you understand that question? I can ask you to rephrase it if you.
Oh, the actual iOS. I'm not sure. It's a good question. The iOS probably going to show that prompt first. That's sort of because the app launches. Mm-hmm. The first time, right, you get the standard, this app wants to send push notifications. Mm-hmm. But then, so yeah, after that, you can then control sort of, the user can control whether he or she wants to get notifications. I mean, obviously the whole, channels thing has to be sort of implemented and built by you, right? So what channels you support and so on.
Okay.
Maybe you don't have any channels at all, and you just want to send a push notification to everyone. I mean, that's entirely up to you.
Okay. All right. Here's a good question. What can you send rich messages? The example the person gives is of a text with a graphic.
So that's coming up in the new, once we implement the new plugin, push plugin, and I mentioned that. Mm-hmm. So that will be possible in about a week or so.
Okay. Here's a whole slew of questions. I'll just list them first so that we can get through them, and then you can respond. We'll go through again one at a time. What's the meaning of the badge in push notification? Actually, let's do them one at a time.
So the badge is that number. That's for iOS only. That's the number that you see in the upper right corner of the app icon. Oh. It usually indicates how many notifications you have, mm-hmm. But I mean you can set it to anything really.
Okay. This person's asking how to show a complete push message in the Android bar. Is that something that can be done with Apri, I guess? That's what he's talking about.
Well, again, so just Apri, so what we do, I mean, just kind of a background how the messages are sent, right? So Apri platform passes the message to Google mm-hmm. servers or Apple servers, right? Okay. So the actual message, right, it's sort of when the message is delivered, the device doesn't know where it's coming from, mm-hmm. Apri or any other service. So it's not really about if the Apri can do that, right? If the Google API or supports, right, showing. So and again, moving to our new plugin, there are going to be a lot more capabilities that you can do for adding icons, adding actions, showing more text, and so on. So yeah, that's going to be possible. But again, we can only do, or you can, what the Google push notification feature allows us to do.
Okay. And here's a question about specifying the channel for which field, like you having one for travel. Is that? Can you describe how you do that, or is that question?
I just map travel to one. I mean, it can be any. It can be any number. It's entirely up to the developer, right? You can have any number of channels. You can use any numbers you want.
Okay. Now, what about, do you have anything, I mean, this could be too broad of a topic, but this person's asking about how you register a device for push notification in an Ionic app.
You follow some, it's similar. I mean, the REST API is the same, right? And again, the app will be automatically sort of registered. I mean, maybe there are some small differences, but the process is very similar, right? Again, we sort of the emphasis wasn't really on the AND app, right? Whether jQuery mobile or Ionic, the emphasis was here is just how do you send the push? And again, it might be very little differences between how the device is registered,
right.
but actually sending the message using channels is exactly the same.
Okay. And there's another. This might be too specific too. It's just it's about Ionic again and whatever. So how do you configure it so whatever push we send to the device will alert the content as soon as the user clicks on the push notification? So that's kind of a little specific about Ionic. I don't know. Let's not. Yeah, that person can follow up. I'm not sure what that means. Okay. Here's a question about this. This is a person who's. He's saying that in most webinars and videos, and this is an exception, they usually don't explain how to do iOS setup. They just explain how to do Android setup. So in this webinar, you were using an iOS device. Are there other, in terms of the material we have on the Dev Center, do they usually include?
Yeah, there are steps. It's just the actual setup for iOS. Again, it's kind of a lengthy process, and it's not a 2-minute setup. And it's very easy to make a mistake.
Yeah.
So we don't want to spend 20 minutes going through sort of steps.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's just kind of the nature of iOS. It's just things are a little bit more involved.
Here's an interesting question. Can you use a geolocation with the push so that you only push to people in a certain location?
Yes. You need to, so the device needs to somehow record or save its location.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So, and then you can say, when you send the message, you can only send it to users who are in this geographical location.
Oh, okay.
And again, it's all possible. Obviously, this whole logic, right, how the device reports its location has to be kind of built, mm-hmm. right? But again, the capability is there. But right. The logic, how it all works together, that's up to the developer.
That's the programming.
Yeah.
Okay. For Apple apps, here's someone who's asking about testing. When we have this person's asking about testing an iOS app for push notification on a development environment. Do you have any?
So this is the development. I'm actually using a developer certificate in this case.
Oh, okay.
But the steps creating a production certificate is that same steps.
Okay. Can we get the push to pop up instead of being in the notification area? Is that another just programming thing that you have?
Well, I think that has to do more with how you set up the notifications especially for iOS. Yeah, how you set up. There are different ways to show notifications on an iOS device. Mm-hmm. You can do like from the you pull it down from the top, or it pops up. So that actually goes with each app, I believe, mm-hmm. on iOS. So that's something you can configure on the phone.
Oh, okay. That's okay. So that's kind of outside of our scope for this. Oh, and here's one last question because it is now 11:40 Pacific time. This person's asking if they can create an SMS number validation with Twilio.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Again, so we sort of we provide a platform that sort of it makes it simpler and faster to build applications. What you build is sort of entirely up to you. If Twilio has the capability to validate phone numbers, absolutely. You can definitely build such app.